Have you ever stayed somewhere you knew you weren't happy anymore? Maybe it was a relationship, a friendship, a job, or even a situation you kept convincing yourself would eventually get better. You knew deep down that something had changed, but you stayed. You told yourself, let me give it a little more time. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe they'll change. Maybe tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow came, and nothing changed. If you've ever been there, this conversation is for you. Welcome back to Lilyasia Lifestyle, where we talk about confidence, growth, self-worth, and becoming the woman you know you're capable of becoming. Now get comfortable, because today I don't want to talk at you. Because we're talking about something many of us struggle with, knowing when to leave. Let's be honest for a moment. Why is leaving so difficult? Have you ever thought about that? Sometimes it's not because what we're holding on to is good. It's because it's familiar. And there's a difference. We become comfortable with what we know, even when what we know hurts us. Imagine wearing a pair of beautiful shoes. I absolutely love these shoes. They are gorgeous and everyone compliments them, but I spent good money on them, and every single step hurts my feet. Would you continue wearing them every day simply because you paid for them? Probably not. These shoes are beautiful, but they're hurting me. So why don't we give ourselves that same permission? Why do we stay in situations? Why do we think the amount of time we've invested means we must continue investing? Listen to me. Time invested is not a reason to waste more time. Read that again in your heart. Maybe you've known someone for 10 years. Maybe you've been in that relationship for 5 years. That doesn't automatically mean they deserve another 10. Maybe you've spent years building something that no longer represents who you're becoming. You're allowed to change direction. You're allowed to outgrow things. And you're allowed to leave. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. We're waiting for some huge moment that gives us permission to finally say, okay, now I can leave. But sweetheart, what if you're simply unhappy? What if you've lost your peace? What if you've tried communicating over and over again? What if you're constantly becoming smaller just to keep the situation comfortable for everyone else? Isn't that enough? I want you to answer that honestly. When did we decide that something has to completely destroy us before we're allowed to walk away from it? It doesn't. Here's something I had to understand. You can love someone and still leave them. That's difficult, isn't it? Because we're often taught that if you love someone, you fight for them. And yes, love requires effort. Friendship requires effort. Dreams require effort. But there's a difference between fighting for something and fighting alone. If you're constantly the one apologizing, constantly fixing things, constantly reaching out, constantly forgiving, constantly understanding, constantly giving another chance, let me ask you, who's fighting for you? Think about that. Because love shouldn't feel like you're carrying two people while somebody else sits comfortably on your back. At some point, you have to put the weight down. And please understand this. Leaving doesn't always mean leaving a person. Sometimes the thing you need to leave behind is your old self. That version of you who needed everybody's approval. You don't have to keep sacrificing your peace just to make everyone comfortable. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It means you finally learned to choose yourself. Leave the version of you who tolerated disrespect, because you who is afraid of being alone. The version who kept explaining herself to people determined to misunderstand her. Baby, leave her there. Thank her. She survived. She carried you as far as she could. But she doesn't have the tools for where you're going next. And this is where I want you to participate. I want you to pause for just a second. Think about your life right now. Don't think about anybody else's life. What are you holding on to that you already know you've outgrown? Don't say it out loud if you don't want to. Just answer yourself. Maybe it's not even a person. Maybe it's procrastination. Maybe it's comparison. Maybe it's constantly doubting yourself. Maybe it's that voice saying, I'm not ready yet. Maybe it's the habit of settling because you're scared. Whatever came into your mind when I asked that question, pay attention to it. Because here's the beautiful part about leaving. Leaving creates space. Think about your wardrobe. If it's completely full of clothes you haven't worn in 5 years, where are you going to put the new clothes? There's no space. Life works like that sometimes. We're praying, God, send me something better. Meanwhile, both hands are gripping something we've already been told to release. We're saying, I want peace. I want genuine friendships. But we're entertaining chaos and chasing people who barely check on us. I want healthy love. But we're making excuses for unhealthy behavior. We want to become a different woman, but we're protecting the habits of the old one. At some point, something has to go. And when you finally leave, don't spend the next 6 months standing outside the door checking whether somebody noticed. Don't leave hoping they'll chase you. Don't leave because you're trying to teach somebody a lesson. Leave because you learned yours. That's different. There's something incredibly powerful about walking away without hatred. No revenge, no drama. This isn't healthy for me anymore. So before we end today's conversation, I want you to remember this. Not everything you lose is a loss. Sometimes losing something is exactly how you find yourself again. And someday you're going to look back at something you once cried about losing and whisper, "Thank God I didn't stay." You'll understand why that door closed. You'll understand why that friendship ended. One day you'll understand why you had to begin again. But before that day comes, you have to be brave enough to walk away. Not when everyone agrees with your decision. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, even when nobody else can see what you see. And someday you're going to look back at something you once cried about losing and whisper, "Thank God I didn't stay." You'll understand why that door closed. You'll understand why that friendship ended. You'll understand why that person couldn't continue with you. Not when you're completely unafraid, but when staying begins to cost you the woman you're trying to become. That's when you leave. And you don't have to leave angry. You can simply say, "Thank you for what this season taught me, but I choose myself now." Because sometimes the life you've been praying for begins the moment you finally have the courage to walk away from the life you've outgrown. If this message spoke to something inside you today, tell me in the comments, "I'm choosing me." And if you know another woman who needs to hear this conversation, share this video with her. Subscribe and join us here at Lilyasia Lifestyle. Because we're not just talking about becoming better, we're actually becoming them. Until our next conversation, protect your peace, never be afraid to choose yourself. Bye for now.